So I watched Eraserhead for the first time recently, and let's talk about it. David Lynch recently passed, RIP, but the only thing that I've seen of his was the first episode of Twin Peaks and Dune. So I'm excited to go through his filmography, and I started with Eraserhead. It's a bizarre viewing experience. It's a weird movie. I think a lot of people know that by now. One of my first thoughts when watching the movie was, I'm curious to know what people were thinking when it came out. I think it came out in 1977, pre-David Lynch, like before David Lynch was a household name, and he bursts onto the scene with this movie. I wonder what people thought. Some people probably thought he was just a nut job. Some people probably think he's a nut job now. But to come out of the gate swinging with this movie, it's weird. It's bizarre. And I know people praise it now. I know a lot of big directors cite it as one of, if not their favorite movies. I'm having a hard time trying to articulate what I'm thinking or how I felt about the movie. It's just weird. Pretty much unlike anything I've ever seen. I think he was just built different. He had an interesting brain. What made me enjoy the movie about 1,000 times more was when my wife came into the room and she's like, "What are you watching?" And it was around the time, the spoiler alert, where the furnace lady was dancing on a stage. She has this weird expression on her face, like, it's bizarre. And then whatever you call it, these worm spermatozoid things falling onto the stage, and her expression doesn't change, and she starts smushing them, and my wife was like, "What are you watching?" And then a little bit later, Henry is like fiddling with that rod or whatever, and then his head pops off. Spoiler alert. And then I rewound it, and I called my wife over. I said, "Hey, look. And then she looked, and then his head pops off, and she's like mortified. She's like, "What is this?" And then for the rest of the movie, every time I said, look, she refused. She refused to look. I guess the movie is about... It could be about a lot of things, but fear of fatherhood, fear of having a child, having the child and not wanting it, not liking it. Interesting stuff, but the most not straightforward movie, but again, really unique. And what's interesting is I watched Blue Velvet after Eraserhead, and it was like surprisingly a lot more straightforward than Eraserhead, a lot more grounded, I guess you could say. After watching them back to back, I was like, I kind of wish it was weirder, like Eraserhead. I'm the type of person who blind buys a lot of movies. Like, my favorite podcast is We'll See You in Hell, hosted by Joe DeRosa, comedian, and comedy writer Pat Walsh. And they talk movies. They talk a lot of movies. And sometimes when they love a movie, I'll blind buy a movie. I had Eraserhead in my cart, and then I saw that it was on Max. So I watched it. And then afterwards, I was like, I don't know if I want to own Eraserhead. I don't know if I need to own Eraserhead, especially after having watched it on Max. Same goes for Blue Velvet. I don't think I need to own it, but after watching them back to back, I kind of want to own Eraserhead. I might purchase it. Again, I'm not sure if it's a movie I'm going to rewatch over and over again. It would be cool to own. Very strange movie, but worth watching, definitely. I think I need time to think about it and process it, because it's not like anything I've seen before. So it's not like, oh my gosh, I love it, it's a masterpiece. I might have to see it again, but I think I need some time to think about it. But I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the rest of David Lynch's filmography. R.I.P., good sir.